motion. Nelson rolls to his left, to the end zone. Touchdown. He's going to find the end zone.
Dude, that's just Riley Nelson.
Nelson wants the deep ball. He's got a man open. Touchdown.
We are live in Studio B. We are your day-to-day BYU sports play-by-play. I'm Jason Shepard. That is Dave McCann, and you just saw the highlights from the great Riley Nelson and the former BYU quarterback, the former BYU radio analyst, and my former co-host on Cougar Pregame Live, Riley Nelson, joining us now. That's a lot of former. Riley, here's my question. Of all three of those titles, former quarterback, former analyst, and my former co-host on Radio Pregame, which of those are you going to miss the most?
Co-host, without a doubt. The other ones aren't even a close second.
I don't believe a word you're saying, but I'm going to accept it as the truth.
Riley's smart enough.
Just take it, Jace. Yeah.
Riley is smart enough to know when to audible and just say the right thing.
How you doing, man?
That's right. Doing good. Yeah, no, Dave, I mean, to your point, it doesn't matter how good a play is if the defense, is set up to stop it. You got to be able to, move and shake and adjust at the line. So that's we're starting off that interview the same way, which, even though those formers kind of like remind me of the good old days, the fact that I can still apply those skills, whether it's, here on Sports Nation with you guys or out in the real life, is a testament to the sport.
Yes, it is.
So we've obviously been talking a lot about the transfer portal. It's not going anywhere. In fact, it's probably going to become even more a part of college athletics as we continue on. What have you made out of how active BYU has been in the portal thus far?
I think it's a great thing. I think, but here's what I'll say. And I think it's a great thing that they're transitioning into the Big 12. I think, moving from independence into a P5. I think the roster, and also your roster changed so much from year to year, but also you're taking a step up. And as you look at other teams that have done that in recent history, they really, it took them 4 or 5 years to get up to speed and start competing in their respective conferences. I think that the transfer portal actually was a tool. The last time there was a significant shakeup or the G5s moving up to P5, it was not an element like it is now. So I think that BYU being so active is a good sign in that there's a possibility, not saying a guarantee, but there's a possibility that by being able to turn over your roster, even though it does come with a lot of disruption, and you always worry about chemistry and cohesion and things like that, but it does provide the opportunity for you to accelerate what was, a 5 or 6 year process for programs making the jump historically to where maybe you can, shorten that time. And even, I think, ideally for all of us, and what we're all holding out hope for is that you are able to compete right away.
Riley, if Congress came to you and said, we would like you to fix this portal NIL madness in college football to make it better, where would you start and what would you do? Yeah,
Dave, you mentioned Congress. I'd say stop spending money and get your own house under control when, with the news headlines all being consumed with our national debt and the debt ceiling and all that stuff. Yeah, it's a good question. I think, so I work in day-to-day, well, I won't give you too long of an answer, but I work in health insurance, and part of the Affordable Care Act, there was some good, some bad about it. But one of the things that they do is they kept free market principles, but everybody that wants to participate in that market pays into a pool where distributions go out equally regardless of, different carriers' market strength or size or this or that. In other words, it's a way, the mandate to pay into the pool somewhat, it allows the free market principles to exist, but it also kind of levels the playing field to prevent monopolies or duopolies or too much, or the market getting too upside down in terms of inequity. I think something like that within this NIL, right? You got to still allow free market principles to reign. I think free market principles are going to be what's best for the athletes in the long term, and I think this whole thing was geared towards trying to do what's best for the athletes and not necessarily the universities or the large organizations, because that was so upside down for so many decades historically that the universities captured all the financial upside and none of it was shared downstream. Well, now we're in a transition period where things are crazy. I think, anyway, bottom line is I would come up with something where everybody's got to pay in to a pot based on certain metrics, and then the distributions from that pot go into slightly adjust, or to not let the swings between the haves and the have-nots become so drastic and allow people to compete. It will never be a level playing field. Let me just say that. Like nobody knows that better than BYU, right? And what they've been through in from Mountain West to Independence and now in the P5. We know what comes along, or the great advantages that come along with where you're stationed within the college football landscape. But trying to insert some equity while still allowing free market principles to thrive would be some sort of solution that I would suggest. Although I wouldn't give it to Congress. I'd find some other group of smarter people and let them work on it.
Understood.
The great Riley Nelson joining us here on BYU Sports Nation. So Riley, our question of the day is, which side of the football do you think has improved the most through the transfer portal? What do you think?
That's a good question. I'm an offensive guy, so I spend more time and attention. I'll admit, like, I see a transfer announcement, and all the offensive guys, I click on their Twitter profile and I go watch their highlights, and I get to see those guys. I'm maybe like 50% on doing that for defensive guys, so it's hard for me to kind of see the chops of them. And you did qualify this by saying through the transfer portal, I think getting your quarterback to replace Jaron Hall probably tips it slightly to the offense. I guess I would say that was the single most important transfer. So if we were going to look at one, but I think as a body of work, the defense has a chance to be as a unit, the unit that was perhaps bolstered up more by the transfer portal, while getting your QB1 who has 30 plus P5 starts and all that to help you into that transition was really the gold star for the offensive side.
Let's go into the quarterback room for a moment, starting with Slovis, and then you got Retzlaff, who will be here in just a bit, Cade Finnegan, Nick Billups, Ryder Burton, a young guy with a big arm, Cole Hagan. How do you feel about that room?
Yeah, I think it's great. I just tell those guys, I think it's a great room. I think it's going to be in an interesting spot because you got, top experience heavy with Keaton SLOVITS. And then you got guys, Retzlaff, you got guys that have played. Retzlaff, obviously, at a little bit different level of football. And then you got Cade, who's coming from Boise, which is a good program. It's no slouch. He's hopefully been taught football the right way, even though he hasn't had a lot of had a lot of snaps. But you got Keaton SLOVITS, who's very top heavy as far as his P5, starts and experience in the in the FBS level. Here's what I'd say. Everybody's got to take accountability for their own progress, simply because Keaton's coming in. He's expected to start right away. He's learning a new system, and he's helping a program transition from G5 to P5. So where you'd hope that he'd have some sort of dynamic like I had with Max Hall, where I came off my mission and Max had things so dialed in as a senior that he was able to take time and kind of, really kind of tutor me or bring me along. He didn't spend a ton of time because his primary, and I understood that too, right? His primary role was to get ready for Saturdays and go out and help our team win. But because he was comfortable enough with his surroundings and had been that way for so long, I was able to glean a lot of information that I don't expect Slovis being in a position for this group. And then the second thing is, like, tomorrows, I'd say to that quarterback room, while I do feel great about it, no tomorrows are guaranteed. I'd tell them, each one of them, if they're not the guy or they're unhappy about their playing time. And granted, I realize that I was a transfer, albeit in a different environment, but the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And getting not only the tutelage of a senior experienced quarterback as Keaton SLOVITS, but getting to work under Aaron Roderick, who's now is back-to-back draft picks. And if you talk to any scout or any NFL evaluator, they absolutely love the stuff that Roderick does and the offense here. So it's a tremendous opportunity for him. Don't let your emotions get in the way. Go, become a worker, decide to stick with it through adversity and think very long and hard about it if you're going to make a change to go try and play somewhere else. And if we do that, I think BYU is not only set up well for this current season, but, for the first 3, 4, 5 years going into the Big 12.
Do you believe that with Keaton SLOVITS already having gone through transferring from one school to the other, do you think that benefits him coming into BYU and obviously then benefits the Cougars overall? Because he's already gone through that process. He knows what it's like. And even though last year didn't go the way that he wanted and it didn't turn out to be the situation he had hoped it would be, going through that process just a year ago, do you think that helps him going into this year?
I do, if he'll let it. And when I say if he'll let it, you cannot anchor, meaning you cannot let the negative experience of what happened to him at Pitt. And if there's any viewers or listeners out there that weren't sure about all the dynamics, it's online. You can go and see that he went in thinking he was going into one situation, and when he actually got there, it turned out that, it wasn't what he was expecting it to be. But what you can't do is you can't carry the negative aspects of that experience. You can't let them carry that, and maybe because what they can tend to do is they can tend to jade you as a player or as a person. Maybe you're always kind of looking over your shoulder, expecting those negative things that happened in his transfer from USC to Pitt to repeat themselves here. Rather, you got to focus on all the positives that happened and all the positives that are currently going on at BYU, and then all the lessons learned that were principled lessons. Don't assume just because something happened one way at one that it's going to repeat itself here in a new situation, but rather look for the foundational principle or the foundational causation of of what happened to you in your previous experience, how it happened, and the why behind it, rather than the specifics. And then you can take those raw materials and build upon them and really make this second transfer of his productive and everything he hopes it will be and everything that Cougar Nation hopes it will be.
One of the toughest football players in BYU history, Riley Nelson here on BYU Sports Nation. Let's finish with this one. When I think of transfers who've come in and started at BYU, it's a short list. There's you, there's Steve Sarkisian, and Gary Scheide. That's not a big, long list. How challenging is it to transfer into BYU and become a starter and win games?
Boy, I had the good fortune of, I've already mentioned earlier in this interview, of sitting a year behind Max. So it was pretty challenging because BYU is a QB factory, right? Like, they get the recruits, and those recruits come in and they play and they produce and they go on to play at the next level and all those things. So it's daunting kind of coming in as an outsider. But that buffer year or that transition year that I had to sit behind Max really eased it. That, combined with the fact that also I had started as a true freshman prior to my mission at Utah State, right? So I kind of knew the ropes a little bit. Keaton SLOVITS obviously has that, but coming in and having the expectation to start right away, and not just start right away, but lead a team to success in what are unknown waters, I think is extremely challenging. So I guess what I would say to viewers in Cougar Nation out there is have patience, but also we should all expect, as I know Keaton SLOVITS expects of himself, that he is going to embrace that opportunity, rise to that occasion, and cement his name in with the legacy that all of us former quarterbacks have the great privilege of being counted among, and that's the brotherhood of BYU quarterbacks.
Riley, great stuff as always. We always love having you on the show. It's good to talk with you. Hopefully things are going well for you, and certainly hope that the family is doing well. It's always great to talk with you, and I'm sure we'll have you on before the season starts.
Likewise, always a pleasure, fellas. And next time I'm going to hop down in the studio with you. I'm committing it right now on air. No more of this Zoom stuff. I have not been in the show, or I have not been in the new studio on the show. So that's going to be my goal for next time I'm on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'd look forward to having you in studio. Thanks, Riley. Appreciate it, man.
What a great,
Later.
Great.